So I'm here in South County in Sappington with Jim and Judy Stroup, the homeowners and longtime backyard tour hosts. And Jim's going to give us a tour of his yard today. So what do we have here today, Jim?
Well, we have a mixture of native plants and hybrids. We've got a couple of roses and some eastern bee balm and coral honeysuckle. The interesting thing about this is that my 96-year-old neighbor gave me this cutting, and it's a cutting from his great-grandmother's plant. This started out to be a grape arbor, but the wildlife doesn't like to share, so I just gave it over to them, and I don't nurture the grapes at all anymore. Now I'm trying to get the honeysuckle going.
Do you ever get grapes off of it at all?
I don't, but the squirrels and birds do.
Well, you're feeding biodiversity then.
Yeah. We got a lot of native plants in here.
And that's good for?
It's good for insects to, for pollinators and for insects to lay eggs and have their larvae and everything, and then the birds eat the larvae, and then the Cooper's hawks eat the birds. So it's kind of
It's a cycle.
Yeah.
I see you have raised beds over here. You got all your spring crops doing real well. Some of your summer crops coming in.
Yeah, they took off real well after this big rain we had a couple weeks ago.
And you've got more natives on the outside.
Yeah. Purple coneflowers and black-eyed Susans and Ohio spiderwort. That's the purple one.
And some more beds over here. And these you've got protected with bird netting.
Yeah, that keeps the birds out of my strawberries pretty well. Strawberry crop has been very good. We've got about a gallon out of it so far this year. I'll be eating those in the winter. Here we have beets and squash and more lettuce, more beets and eggplant. We have a bluebird house over there. And this is the first year we've ever had bluebirds in my yard. And they inspired me last winter to build that house, and then I read up on it at Missouri Department of Conservation, and they said how high to mount it off the ground and face it west, and had plans and everything.
And I see you've taken a tree down recently over here.
I think it was 3 years ago. It was a soft maple. So behind you we have some more native plants. Rudbeckia maxima coneflower is interesting. It shoots up about 8 feet tall and it has about a 2-inch flower on it. I have a lot of sumac. It grows well here for some reason.
It's a small area, but it looks like a dense food forest. You've got some nice ground covers.
Yes, Queen Anne's lace. Not very pretty now, but later on it'll turn white. There's not very much blooming right now. It's a little early for some of the stuff.
You have May apples back here.
Yes, I planted those too. And if you look closely, there's some nice poison ivy back there. We have a lot of plants here that repel mosquitoes, supposedly. So we've been led to believe. And I think it works pretty well, because in the summertime we can sit on the patio in the evening and not be bothered by mosquitoes. But if you come out in the yard, they'll find you real quick. We have a tree frog singing for you. So over here we have a native bee hotel. This log with all those holes in there. The native bees, they don't have a hive and they don't make a big nest like honeybees. One bee will take a hole and they'll plug it up, and then they'll deposit some eggs, and then they'll plug it up and deposit some eggs, and then come all the way out to the end.
And there are your beehives back there.
Yep, they're back there, hard at work.
Now, you're not a beekeeper, is that correct?
That's correct. I put an ad on Craigslist, wanted a beekeeper, and I had one within an hour. Since I was the first one to get the beehives, my keeper has also put hives in 2 more yards up the street, and my neighbor over that way got his own beehive, and one down that way got one, so everything starts with one.
And you have another garden over here.
Yeah, this one is in transition. I also learned when I tried to transition that vinca and hosta did not play well with native plants. They choke them out. So in this bed here, for the last 3 years, I've been trying to get rid of vinca and hosta. And last year I gathered up seeds from native plants and I planted them in here, and then I transplanted some of the plants this year. And so come back in a few years and hopefully this will be all filled up. We had a nice tree here that decided to fall down, so that enabled me to create this waterfall and this bubbling stream, and then my lake. And birds come in here and they take a bath and they get a drink, and everybody's happy.
And you were saying it's all solar powered?
It is solar powered. If you turn around, we have 26 panels on the roof that we've had up there for almost 9 years. Even though it's cloudy today, they're doing something. We have a permeable patio with the red granite pavers. I think some of those came from downtown St. Louis. This is permeable because there's no concrete involved there in between there. That's all sand, so the water can go back through the sand into the earth rather than being run off. And these plants can benefit from it. I have a couple of cold frames over here to the right that I use to, in summertime I grow peppers because they don't mind being in a hot place. And in the winter I grow lettuce in there, and we eat lettuce out of that all winter long.
Composting.
So this is my compost tumbler. We put all of our kitchen scraps, and we empty our shredder in here. And I used to have it somewhere in the shade and it didn't work as well, so I moved it over here to where I have sun. And it heats up better and it decomposes a lot faster. So I use this chipper shredder to grind up sticks and vegetation from the yard and whatever else. So why do I think that it's important to do all this stuff with my property here? It's because I have 4 grandchildren who are going to inhabit this earth when I'm gone. And my late stage of my life, I discovered that what I do has an impact on at least this little bit of the earth. You know, I make my own electricity. I get my heat out of the geothermal system in the ground. The electricity charges my electric car. I make habitat for pollinators and birds and bees and butterflies. And to me, that's a whole lot more important than having a putting green for a lawn. So if I can save this much of the earth, or at least a portion of it, then my efforts are worthwhile.